Howdy, rowdy Cub Scouts. Oh boy, I hope you all had a good weekend. I am quite exhausted from all the stuff that's been happening last week. I don't know how. I slept for so long. I tried to sleep like 6-8 hours, and then I woke up and I couldn't get out of bed, and then I had to sleep for longer, and I'm still so crazy exhausted. But I'm glad everyone who's checking us out is checking us out today. Hope you had a good weekend. We had a lot of fun. I have so much leftovers. We went out, we had a great time, me and my roommates. I also wanted to give a shout out to Emperor Kumai Keru. I'll give you another quick re-notification since you did us a solid and followed while we were off stream in between after this and the Dragon Ball Fighters / Dead by Daylight stream. So thanks so much for the follow. And yeah, I hope everyone's doing good. We are, after quite the hiatus, jumping back into some chill D&D map making. We are hitting floor 3 of our sort of 100 floor dungeon challenge, going over so many different themes, just making this giant dungeon that we can hopefully actually play with people in the future. A nice little traditional classic dungeon crawl, a bit of a departure from the super story driven, very narrative heavy concepts that you'll see in a lot of other D&D campaigns. Really focusing on just exploring some of the mechanics and rules for the game, so that anyone who wants to get into the game and doesn't really know where to go in terms of map making or understand how to take the rules that are in Dungeons and Dragons and really apply them to a custom map, this can help give you some inspiration, give you some examples. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into our maps so far. Oh, whoa. Where'd I go? I just cast invisibility on myself? What's going on? I seem to be vanished. I have vanished. Where am I? Let me see if I can figure that out. Am I not here? Oh boy, I'm not here. Where did I go? All right, hold on. We can fix this. No stress. Just gotta find my my chatting bits and throw them down. Now, where the heck am I? There you go. Boom. And then from here, I should be able to just slap you. There you go. All right, I'm in. don't know what was the problem before, but let's go ahead and just add these fellas. Yep, while I just sort this out, I want to give a quick shout out to Forgotten Adventures, the website for all the map assets that you're going to see in the stream, aside from things like little token images and things like that, are going to be available on their sites. It's available for free. And for anyone who's checking the VOD or watching the stream on YouTube, there's going to be a link in the description that shows you where to get those assets. So just wanted to give a quick shout out to them. And I figured that since we're going to be playing things very light, very chill on this stream, mostly due to my aforementioned exhaustion levels, and also just because we haven't really done a lot of D&D in quite a time, let's go ahead and just like reminisce a bit on what we had done so far and talk about what we're planning to do to build up from what we have done. So let's go ahead and just jump into the first floor that we made. A nice basic tutorial floor that goes over how ability checks works and attack rolls work, and how you actually try to do anything in the game. It also talks about vision, because you're going into an area with like low light or darkness, so that matters a lot. You also encounter this one enemy here. You don't fight them. Combat's not really a big thing in this floor. This goblin kind of like flees if they spot you, and then you deal with the ramifications of that and potential combat in the further floor. But that's what we're looking at here. And then in the second floor, we do a lot of more direct combat and exploration. We explore how stealth might work in the scenario that the goblins are not immediately aware of your presence, and we wanted to like go over some cool things about how combat works. Like we have these people that are like acting like lookouts in this tower, and they have cover. They also have perception checks and you know, sources of light that you're observing as well. You've got these animals here, so you can actually have NPCs dealing with other NPCs if you do something about that. And you've got a boss, like a little mini boss here, this sort of goblin boss that has resistances and weaknesses, and you can learn how that works. And you might even encounter this magic item here, whether you discover it naturally by spotting the secret door, or if you end up using diplomacy, or you do a non-lethal takedown on the boss goblin, you might coerce the boss into revealing the secret location of this room. And that's where we sort of left things off. You also have sort of special items you can have here, different potions, to again further explain that weakness and resistance mechanic that we wanted to demonstrate. Now, one thing we haven't really done is talk about magic and all the different ways that magic works. Specifically, we haven't really talked about how magic has... Oh, let me lower down my volume a little bit. The volume's a little weird. There we go. Now, we haven't talked about the different components that magic uses. There are 3 components. There's somatic, material, and verbal. Somatic components is basically a sort of like gesture that you use with your hands. You need a free hand, or the hand that you're using for whatever implement, like a wand or a staff or a holy symbol if you're a cleric or something of that nature, divine caster. But it requires you to have like some mobility and gesturing with your open hand, with a free hand of any kind. And then there's verbal components, which is, you know, it's what it says on the tin. You got to say a magic word in order to make sure that the magic of the spell comes out. And then finally, a material component. You have to have some material on hand that acts as a catalyst for the spell's magic. Now, the problem that we're going to be encountering when designing this floor is, because I'm sort of using this all-purpose dungeon that can be used for any manner of parties, it's very possible that we'll be encountering, we'll be running this dungeon against parties that don't have any magic casters. We cannot rely on knowing what casters are on the party and things like that. So we're going to try to do some things in order to go around that and make sure that we can teach some rules of magic even for parties that don't have magic casters. And this is going to be important too, because even if you might be thinking, well, if my party doesn't have any magic casters, then why do they need to learn the rules of magic? Well, for one, they might eventually multi-class into magic casting or something like that, and if they know the rules of magic, they can more confidently make that decision. But also, even if no one on the party is going to be a magic caster, they might end up fighting against people who do cast magic. You might end up throwing mages against them, you know, like kobold sorcerers or cultists and things like that. And knowing the rules of magic will help them understand how those magic users work, and kind of lets them playing around them a bit better. It feels less like cheating when they know those rules, even if they're not using it themselves. So because of these restrictions, I had some time to think about what structure I wanted to use for this particular floor, and I think I'm going to be doing something very, very rigid. You can see that in our second map we had a fairly open section for exploration. The players come in from this direction, they deal with this initial room, and then from here they have many places to go. They can go left or right, they can go straight towards the center, and there are a lot of different little side rooms that they can explore to sort of gain some cool things that they want to before they maybe charge into where the boss goblin might be and do a direct challenge. You know, they have the opportunity to do that, assuming that they don't get caught and they have the opportunity to sneak around. For the third floor, what I'm going to want to do is something that is very rigid. So it's just a bit of a linear path, a series of trials that the players will have to go through. And because we're dealing with the magic and mystical, this is also a good opportunity for us to introduce some magical puzzles and riddles and things like that, because the players have just had their fair share of combat in this floor. So we're going to be able to shy a little bit away from the combat in the next floor and do a bit more brainy, puzzly things. So with that in mind, let's go ahead and create a new floor. And for this one, we're going to make the dimensions quite more narrow than normal. I'm going to leave the width about the same, but the height's going to be much higher. It's going to be, like I said, a linear path for the most part. So we'll leave it at 25 by 60 or even 25 by 75. I want to do 3 major trials, one for each different component that is involved in spellcasting. So we're going to do a floor like that, and it's going to look like this, perfectly fine. We'll do quite a bit of scrolling in order to get through everything. And the first thing we're going to do is make a simple floor plan. Let's go ahead and draw a floor plan. So here's my idea. The players are going to come in from the bottom here, and we're going to sort of have an introductory hallway that's pretty narrow or pretty short in length, and this is just going to maybe serve as an introduction. Maybe there will be signs on the wall and things like that that sort of prepare the players and help them understand that this floor is going to be a sort of puzzly floor, and just get them in that mindset. All right, then we break off into a big room, maybe about this size. They have some sort of puzzle they have to do here. The exact details of the puzzle, I'm still working on that. And then we're going to basically do this 2 more times. We're going to have 3 separate trials. They go through each of them, and then they can go through the floor to the next area. So let's just go ahead and take this and excuse me. Let's take each of these and try to just connect them together. That's ultimately what we're trying to do. Like so. Ooh, that one is a little off. We'll fix that. I'm not being too precise here because, again, it's just a floor plan. There we go. And then finally, there's going to be a pathway that might have some final reward for the players. And then they can move on and go further. So this is sort of what it's looking like. I'm kind of phoning it in as far as the actual dungeon creativity goes. But as we go further down into the dungeon, I'm going to start exploring more themes. And one of the things that we'll have to consider is that as the dungeon goes further down, there's more pressure, just from like a physics perspective. There's more pressure leaning down. And so when you're early on in a cave, things can be very unnatural. Things can be sort of, or not unnatural, things can be very natural specifically. And they can be very loose in how like walls and pillars and stuff is placed because it's fairly shallow. As you get deeper and deeper, the weight that is on top of each floor to avoid cave-ins requires that whoever's building those floors take more and more time in order to make sure that their floors are structurally sound. So the walls will be thicker and more regularly spaced. The pillars will be more refined, and you're not going to be relying on loose rock outcroppings in order to keep your dungeon afloat. You'll actually be building a more structured environment. So as we get further and further down, you'll end up encountering these sort of like kind of like grid-like patterns where rooms are square or circular, and they're not like, you know, the strange kind of unnatural shapes that you're seeing here where you have these little oblong things, and then this thing has like this outcropping here, which is kind of weird. And then on the floor too, you kind of see a structure here with the different floors, but again, it's very shallow into the dungeon, and these are made by goblins. They're not really particularly, or at least these goblins at least aren't particularly incredible craftsmen, so they're kind of just leaving rock outcroppings as they are and just digging through enough to get the openings they need to have good traffic so they don't get like stuck on each other all the time. So we have our 3 trials, and we'll make some quick notes about what we want. So as I mentioned, we are dealing with 3 major magic components. And the way that I'm going to handle this is we're going to theme each of these based on one of those components. So first, I'm going to do a verbal component here. And I think the verbal component will be pretty straightforward because it's the easiest to learn. So I want it to be the first sort of trial puzzle that the heroes go through. Afterwards, we'll move on to the somatic component, and I'll explain why I want to do somatic right now or right afterwards. But essentially what I'm going to do to sort of cheat the system is to give the players a magic item that sort of duplicates a spell. So that way, even if they don't have any magic casters, they can still cast a spell. And the spell that I'm planning to use has a verbal and a somatic component, at least for now. I'm going to look at some of the magic spells that can be cast later. Possibly I can find one that also has a material component that we can use. That just leaves the last one to be a sort of material component, which is probably going to be one of the harder ones to design because every spell has different materials. And whenever you have a magic item, you typically ignore material components for a spell that you cast with that item. So we're going to have to be a little creative with how we design this trial, both to make the puzzle itself interesting and to organically teach the players how a material component works if they haven't figured it out already at that point. So because we're going to be introducing a lot of magic here, I'm going to start introducing a bit more unnatural creatures that are listed here. So we're definitely going to do, I think we're going to do an undead theme here, which also lines up with the magic theme because you don't get undead typically, unless you have some sort of magic afoot. And having undead here is really good for divine casters like clerics and paladins, who typically have spells that are really good against undead or do radiant damage, which makes which does extra damage versus undead. All right, so that's sort of the theme of enemies that we're going to be going with. With this in mind, let's go ahead and make the floor plan. Let's go ahead and use our actual assets, and then we'll go one by one for each floor. And I'm just going to go ahead and look for our floors now. Let's see. Oh man, I haven't used this in quite a while. I think I want to go through terrain. Is it terrain that I want? It might not be terrain. Oh boy. I have to remind myself how I organized all the different assets. For anyone who's curious, everything here is being done in Roll20. It might be textures. Yeah, is it natural textures? Or am I a fool? I might be a fool. Let's just do some searching. We're taking a bit of time here because it's been a while since I loaded this, so I think when I'm doing a basic search, my library is getting really there's a lot of stuff in there, so it's taking a while for the library to be like, all right, here's all the stone you wanted. And I don't remember the special keywords to tell it that I only want like terrain overlays, so I'm just gonna let it search for a bit. Hopefully it's not going to take too long. If it takes too long, I'll try to filter down my search a bit. I have a reference somewhere that I can use to understand what assets are available and what they're named. So that might help actually. I'm going to go and take a look at that. Yeah, let's try using this keyword instead. This might help. All right, this does help. We have some more updates here, and we have the tiles that we want. Now what I want to do is I want to do something that is more ancient. So we're going to use probably this as a basics. Say basis. Ooh, excuse me. Are we on objects? Yes, we are. We need to move this to map and background. Thank you. And we're just going to choose a size for this. Let's say, what is this? 9? Let's say 8 by 8. Yeah, let's say 8 by 8. And then we're just going to fill our, I'm going to fill our map with that. Yeah, something like this. Okay, and here's our last layer. We'll just put it. There we go. And it'll give you a sort of dusty, cracked texture here. Actually, looking at it, I don't know if this is quite worth it. I think this will still work, but I may change up the coloring on this to demonstrate the different magical effects that are being placed on it. Because what you have, you know, as an example, is you have these the sort of dirt and dust that's sort of kicking up around here, and those typically I want to like associate to a sort of magical aura. So we may tint these later in order to really push on that theme. Anyway, let's get our walls up. So for walls, it should be pretty simple. I want a wall that is roughly the same color. All these are gray. Yeah, these are all gray. Let me see if I can find any brown stone walls. What the? Ah, it didn't update. There we go. While we're waiting for it to load, I want to talk about what our first trial is going to be. So the short version is that I want to demonstrate how you need these components to do certain things. And so for a verbal component, I need a way to remove the verbal component from the equation to demonstrate that without the verbal component, you cannot cast spells that require them. So the easiest way to do that is to just basically make a big zone of silence. And silence is a spell that basically makes it so that anyone inside the silenced area can't hear anything, they can't say anything, sound doesn't escape or enter that area. And so if you try to use a verbal component, if you try to say something while you're in a zone of silence, you end up saying nothing, and so the spell doesn't come out. So that's what we're going for. Oh, yeah, it's taking quite a while for the walls to show up, so let me see if I can remind myself how the walls work. Is it terrain? No. Was it structures? Yeah, there it is. Wall stone. Let's see if this helps. Okay, there we go. We have a bunch of stone walls that we can use here. I'm trying to find one that isn't gray, or at least is a color that works well. I see it's sandstone, kind of fits, but I kind of want a version that is cracked, that matches the floor. And sandstone is typically very smooth. So I'm gonna see if I can find something that isn't sandstone, but isn't gray. I'll use sandstone if I have to. Okay. There's a version of sandstone that rusts. So we can perhaps use this to demonstrate the decay without requiring direct cracks. Was this right? No, this one is not rusted. Where is the rust? There it is. Okay, so we want something like this. You can see that this sandstone has a metal wall sort of imprinted inside it to increase its sturdiness, but the metal inside has rusted. So this would probably be a good way to demonstrate that. We're gonna go ahead and make this a bit more narrow and a bit longer to fit, yes, like so. And because we're just doing corners, I'm not gonna worry too much about the about this here. In the future, I could easily, I think there is a corner piece that I can use. Let me see, can I find it? Yeah, there's a corner piece here. Let's go ahead and use this so that this section is not as blocky. Yeah, you can see here it's a little better. There you go. And then we just stretch these as needed. And we're just going to keep using these horizontal and vertical pieces as well as these corner pieces. And we're just going to be slapping these around the map. You know what I'm going to do? So I make sure the corners cover it, since when we copy paste, it goes over. It layers up over all the other map assets. We're going to create all our straightaways first, and then we're going to add the then we're going to add all the corners at once. So this one goes here. I'll double up on this. Yeah, we'll do something like this. And this has to happen again here, so we'll just throw that there. Okay, and we can reborrow these for this section for the other trials. Yeah, something like that. Okay, and then we'll add this for our last stairwell. And now we'll add our horizontal bits. For here, I'm gonna leave this section because I want the, I'm gonna add a gate here later. Oh, shoot. JT, thanks so much for the host. Hello everyone who's coming in from JT's stream. My name is Dryadmin. I am a storytelling forest spirit, and right now we're having a very chill stream. We're just going through some map making for Dungeons and Dragons. It's an ongoing series that I did a little bit. I took a bit of a hiatus, but we're coming back to it. And we're doing a sort of 100 floor dungeon challenge. Right now we're on floor 3, and we are setting up a floor that has a particular theme, because right now, since it's an early floor, we're mostly focused on making sure our players understand the rules of the game and teaching them the rules as they go through these starting areas. It sort of acts like a tutorial section. A host is different. Yes, I saw it was a host, but I don't know if it says with one viewer. I don't know if that means they're still around. But in any case, while you're here, it's worth explaining. Thank you for the host in either case. I think I said host. I might have been wrong. But yeah, right now we're going to be doing a magic themed sort of puzzly floor. And we're setting up the basic floor plan here. We're kind of keeping it simple and straightforward. Not a whole lot. It's not stretched good enough. There you go. Yeah, that's what we want. And we're just doing a sequence of 3 challenges. 1 for each component of a magic spell. So by the end of it, our players will understand how magic works. That when their spells inevitably don't work for whatever reason, or they forget some rule, at least they know when. Oh, okay. I didn't know you were offline. Okay. That makes more sense. That makes more sense then. It just said hosted with 1 viewer, so I assume someone was watching already. Would be shooketh. It would be pretty shaken. But yeah, JT, do you play D&D? Would you like to play D&D? And this can... okay, that's good. Alright, where are we so far? Alright, we haven't done these corners yet. We probably could do those corners. Yeah. We should do those. Yep, we'll stretch these out. So yeah, there's less hype and crazy stuff happening in this stream. It's mostly a sort of creative stream. I want to do this to make sure that people who watch this can, you know, people who have been curious about like how do you actually go about making a dungeon, making maps for a D&D campaign. And there are people who are much more skilled than I am when it comes to writing stories and stuff. And they've already, you know, they do crazy story time stuff, which is hilarious and I love it. But I wanted to more do a sort of artistic, here's how you make a map kind of deal. So that when people want to make their own maps, they have some idea of how you do it, and they're not so confused going in. I shied away from going over stories and stuff because everyone tells stories a different way, so a way that works for me won't necessarily work for anyone else. And then we reach the end here, and we have these last, oops. Then we have these last corners. Like so. Okay. We'll probably hold on to these for now because, of course, this map would be frighteningly boring if it was just 3 empty rooms. So we're probably going to add some internal walls and pillars and such to go along with it. Let's go ahead and close this area up. And stretch this out just a little bit more. There you go. Looks nice. All right, let's add some stairs. And we actually already have stairs from previous floors. Actually borrow these if they make sense. Since these are the floors that, this is the stairs that actually bring you down to this area, it makes sense to reuse them here. So we'll set them up like this. We'll be a bit more precise about this. And we'll set this to the back. Yeah, something like that. With the idea that you had a spiral staircase going up from this point. So the wall here would give way because these stairs are, you know, already like 10 feet, 15 feet up. Maybe I'll drive that point home with another set of stairs that continue on that trend. Like so. Yeah, like that. All right. And now what we're going to do is we're going to add a gate to each of these rooms. I just gotta go back down and find the gate that I need. I saw it here before. I'm gonna go ahead and just add a gate to my search. Oh, did that not work? What if I did this? No, that did not work. All right, here we go. That's just a straight wall. Oh, okay, I see. We actually have some cracked sandstone that we can use. Right here. Ooh, that's stretched out very strangely. I'm gonna leave these here because eventually we'll replace this. This is a better fit for what I want. So we'll actually replace our floor plan with this in the near future. And do we have a corner for this? We do, yes. Perfect. Yeah, there we go. Okay. And then for each of these, I want the tint color to be a little bit darker. Though that's a little too much. Oh, it makes things brighter. I need a slightly darker shade of... a little brighter. Because the darkness here doesn't quite match the dirtiness of the floor below. So we're trying to improve the tint a bit. This should be darker. That one's more red. Oh. Hey. Oh, I felt a sneeze coming on. Excuse me. Alright, we'll take this. And we'll tint all our other walls here too. And while we're seeing the new cracked wall, let's try to find the respective gate that was here. There should be a gate somewhere here that I can use. I don't see it. Do I need to look for a gate? Because I'm sure I saw gates. They're just palisade gates. I guess I was incorrect. But we can still use this. Oh, we need a dual gate. That's why this is looking so weird. Needs to be just a little bit larger. Like so. So we have a series of gates that will block your passage to each... Oh, darn it. I'm getting more freaking bots on my YouTubes. Darn it. There we go. Anyway. So we need this, and we're going to want an open version for when they open it. it should be about the same size. So around there. And we'll put this in the GM layer so we can switch between them as needed. And we're just going to go ahead and, because we're terrible map makers, and we're just going to phone it in, we're just going to make a few more things here. And I just realized this thing should be this way. Whoops. Okay. Okay. And then we'll add the open versions here. Oh shoot, these need to also be flipped. Oh, there's a wide open version that I should use as well. So we'll actually replace those. Oof. I need to set this up in the map version. There you go. All right. And then we'll want exit stairs for the very end. Let's see if we can find those fairly easily. For us, it would be under, let's see. Let's see. All right, here we go. I'm going to take something. Oop, we need the map version. And I'm going to copy this. And this should be a bit longer. Yep, and it should go like so. So that these can be, yeah, so that these stairs can be under the wall. And then we're going to add some shadows. To the bottom of the stairs. If I can find an appropriate shadow. Okay, I see castle shadows, but I'm not the most patient, so we're just going to use this. And just like before, we're going to go ahead and just fill these in. With the idea that we can, let's move these out of the way so we could put these in front. There you go. And these are a little too dark. So let's go ahead and add a tint to them. Make them a bit brighter. Maybe more than that. Let's see. Okay. The walls should be above. And then the corners. And the corners above those. There you go. Is there a section of the map that's sort of exposed here? No, not. Technically there is. Let's grab this and extend it a bit. It is where like 90% of the time, 90% of my time gets lost making these maps, being a perfectionist for these kinds of things. That's okay. And so we're going to go ahead and then add another wall. That will narrow the players down so they take the center step and then it expands farther down. All right. Actually, we already have that wall here. We'll just use that. Narrow things down a bit. The important thing is to start from here. Like so. Could probably flip this, can't I? No. That was Wait, what? Did I want to do a vertical flip? No. Oh, right. It doesn't actually change the rotation. Okay, so I just gotta do it this way. All right, that works. A little bit closer. All right, perfect. All right, and now let's go ahead and replace all this sand metal stuff with, I think, a more fitting cracked stone example. Oh, whoops. Don't want to get rid of the shadow. All right. It's this way. Okay. We have our length, so now we can just mirror these on the other side. And for their respective rooms. Okay, now we'll do the horizontal ones. Now, before these can be mirrored. And there's a similar mirroring here. And now we do the corners. I'll do all of these corners first. Then all these corners. Oh, I missed these corners too. Oops. That's fine. Okay, let's go ahead and just put these corners here. That should be all those. All right. Then these corners. Okay. And now these corners. Oh, wait. Almost forgot one. All right. And this one should be up in the front. And now I can put these, oops, excuse me. And now I can put these back. Make sure they're lined up perfectly. I'll group these together. All right, put these on the front. Make sure these are in the front. All right. Like so. And I should probably make, whoops. There you go. Make a super thin section here. All right. Finally, we'll put our gates back. And presto, we're done. I'm gonna take a sip. Whew. Slightly bigger sip. All right. Now, let's talk about what our first challenge is going to be. Here is what I'm imagining. Each door is going to have a specific key that needs to that you need to unlock it, and it's socketed because magic. So it's something that is not going to really be able to be picked. You know, if you have a sneaky rogue, you're not going to be able to just pick the lock. You have to socket it into somewhere, and that causes the locking mechanism to be disabled. And you can just swing the doors open. The first way that's going to work is very simple. At the front of the stairs, there is going to be a wand that will be socketed within, we'll do dark wood, and this one will be socketed inside the door. Like so. And this one is going to be magical. Now, writing it down specifically. Oh, there's another bot. Don't worry, I got it. Wait, do I have it? There it is. Wow, it actually showed up on my on my chat log before it actually showed up on YouTube. All right. Anyway, so we'll mention that this is where's our text? Oh, that's weird. Where's our text thing? Am I a fool? There it is. Okay. We're gonna write this stuff down. This is a wand of firebolt, which has 6 charges. Expend 1 charge to cast firebolts as a cantrip. A firebolt has a verbal and somatic component, and it's a +4 attack. For people curious, normally when you have a magic item that casts a spell, you have a fixed value for your attack. Normally it's based off of the caster's like intelligence or wisdom or whatever, but for a magic item it's usually fixed because it's based on whichever wizard or other crafted the item. So in this scenario, we're going to say that the person is a fairly novice wizard. So it's basically a +4 versus AC, and it's 1d10 fire damage on a hit. You recharge all charges when wand is exposed to direct sunlight. So this makes the wand really good out in the open, but that's okay because this game is going to be taking place in those, inside this super dark, dank dungeon where there's no sunlight. So 6 charges of firebolt sound good until you realize the deeper you go, the harder this becomes to use because you have to go all the way back up out of the dungeon in order to get to sunlight in order to recharge your wand. And we're going to be using this wand as a basis for all of our puzzles here. And it's okay to do it now because if they end up using all their charges and mess up the puzzle, then they only have to go up 2 stairs to get to the first floor where they can reach sunlight. So we shouldn't expect to use much more of this wand specifically for casting spells or for solving puzzles, since the further down we go, the less likely that the players will actually have charges of this wand left by the time they reach a puzzle. But for the 3rd floor, it's okay. And so what we're going to do is we're going to add more walls. Because again, this is a bit of a tutorial section, the puzzles are not going to be that difficult. We're going to add a wall section here with, let's see. Yeah, we're going to do this. Whoa, what did I do? What just happened? Okay, I accidentally created this thing that I did not want to create. We're going to create a little divot here. And we will add an elevated platform on this side. Is there an easy way to do that, or is it going to be enough to do like a shadow? Okay, perfect. We have a stone plate platform that we can add here. And within this, we will add Well, we don't have a token set up for this, but we'll add one later. We're just going to have a placeholder right now. We're going to add a skeleton. Because again, we're going to do like an undead theme. I'm setting it here for now, but eventually I'll create an actual token with a stat block and everything. And the premise is simple. There is going to be a... Whoops. A sort of mechanism here. We'll make it pretty small. And we'll do... We need another gate. But this will be a simple gate. Not like the door that we see here. How do you want to do this? Maybe I'll just look for a door instead. I'm looking at the door options. Ah, this will work. And there will be 2 layers of doors here. And we'll put these in the front. And then there will be a target on the other end. Like so. And then we will add a switch to the outer walls here. Actually, let's make this a single door. Is there... the switches don't show what I want. Maybe they want a lever instead. Yeah, levers will work. Okay. This should be a much smaller lever. Cool. All right. So here's the quote-unquote puzzle. And this puzzle assumes that you have 2 players in your party. For more than 2 players, for each other player after 2, you can add another door and you could add another lever to your list. So I'll actually add another lever, put it here and make it hidden. So that way it's there if you have like 3 people. If you have 4, you can add 3 levers. You can add as many as you want. But it's very straightforward. This skeleton is trapped in this magic circle, so it can't leave. And it is going to shoot arrows at anyone that it sees. The idea is that if an arrow gets shot into this section, then a key will drop that will allow you to pass through to the next area. But assuming you don't have any archers on your team, maybe you have archers. If you have archers, this could become a very easy puzzle. But the idea is, hey, if someone just stands here and gets shot at, you know, to bait the skeleton into shooting the arrow here, it'll just hit the wall. So someone needs to pull this lever to open this door. Pulling the lever opens the door for a split second. So the idea is that with the fact that this is a verbal component, this is a room of silence, it's not as easy to coordinate. So the people who are on the lever don't know when the skeleton is going to fire its bow. And the person who is here can see when the skeleton is going to fire, but can't directly pull the lever themselves. So they have to ready their actions. And they will have been shown how readied actions works in the previous floor. So readied actions is an important part of combat. But the idea is that this person readies an action in order to signal the other players when the skeleton is about to fire. And these players are readying their actions to pull the lever as soon as they get the signal. That opens the door, the skeleton fires, assuming that the person here has, you know, good enough dexterity. You could have them check their AC, or you could have them do a dexterity saving throw to dodge. But ultimately, assuming that the skeleton actually misses their shot, then the arrow goes in, hits here, and the key drops. The key itself being from inside here, because actually getting in and grabbing it is pretty trivial. And what does the key look like? I have no idea. We're gonna go ahead and find an interesting shape that we can use. Let's use this. Okay. This key basically drops if an arrow attack ends up hitting this item here. And again, the magic of Firebolt itself is not necessarily critical here, although they may end up using Firebolt to hit the target if they don't have any arrows. In fact, now that I'm thinking about it, let's go ahead and make sure that this target is not made of straw. Because if they want to use the Firebolt to hit the target, then they can totally do that. And I want to make sure that the target wouldn't catch like on fire if they did that. Is there a target that is not... Oh my god, there's a target made of hay. That's even worse. No metal targets here. Let me see if I can use something that would substitute for a metal target. Or at least something that wouldn't so easily catch fire. Let's see. Oh, there's like a cannon that can be used. Oh, okay. Let's use this. There's a shield here that I can use that has plenty of scratches on it. Did it go? Hello? Oh, what the? Come on. Huh, it's not loading in. That seems to not be working out. But we can use other boxes here. Yeah, okay. Let's use this. Is it working? Uh-oh. I know there's issues with the internet, but I'm not able to... Oh, there they go. Okay. Wow, it took a really long time for these things to load. All right, we'll use the shield then. So instead of a target, there will be a shield here. And I will see if we can add a target to the shield that's just like a visual instead of being directly a thing. Not quite as easy to do. So maybe we'll just draw it. Is there a way to make this smaller? Thin. Maybe I'll draw a circle. Yeah, there's a circle option here. Whoops. Oh man. There you go. Now something looks like a target that will not catch fire if they use firebolt on it. And this sort of skips the requirement of having the skeleton around. And if they end up killing the skeleton, then that's fine. Because again, between the bolt and the firebolt wand, they have a way to hit this target. We may add a lever. I'm going to add another lever actually. That is... Let's see. Can I add... All right, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to add a lever here on the ground. That's bigger than the other levers. I'm going to see if I can find a skull. Yes, I can. I'm going to make the skull like so. So now we have a lever around here. And if they come here and pull the lever, then if they, destroyed this skull, or if they broke the skull, then this lever would reanimate it to allow them to use it again. Unless they say, attack the skeleton using a critical strike and then they just completely obliterated the bones and it's no longer able to be animated. But anyway, this would be our puzzle, dropping this key and allowing us to move forward. With the idea that if they wanted to use the firebolt wand, then they would need to either aim from outside. Can they make it here? Let's actually double check. They can't make it. I should shorten this even further. Something like this. So now they have a few different ways to do it. If they take a fire bolt and shoot it here, and from here they can actually see the target, assuming that they pull the levers, and they would be outside the zone of silence. They could cast a spell here, hit the target, and get the key. Or if they have a bow, they would just need to basically stand anywhere in this area and shoot the target to get the key. Or if they have neither a bow, nor do they recognize that they could use the bolt outside of the zone of silence, or they're out of charges for whatever reason, then they have to move here and bait the skeleton into shooting an arrow. So there is a simple puzzle that demonstrates how important the verbal component is. Then they move forward, and we move on to the next puzzle, which is going to be based on somatic requirements. And this one I think is going to be pretty straightforward. I already had an idea of what these were going to be, and so we're going to prepare them in this section. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a few big... Did I misspell these? I did misspell them, didn't I? Yeah, I did. Okay. That's fine. We're going to add some cannonballs. Oops. We're going to add some cannonballs to this section of the puzzle. And the reason why is because we're going to do some pretty simple socket puzzles, colored, with the threat of undead attacks. So this one was a little light on danger. The other one's going to be a little bit heavier on danger. The idea here is that these cannonballs are real heavy, like super heavy. A character with, and I can actually write this down here because it's going to be important for us to remember. But, you know, cannonballs are heavy. You need a strength of at least 10 to carry them. Carry one, rather. With both hands. At least 14 strength to carry one with one hand. And we're going to go ahead and take each of these and we're going to color code them. So one's going to be red. The other one's going to be green. The last one will be blue. And then we'll have one that is white. Perfect. And what we'll do is we'll color code the areas of the floor here, because we're going to add a sort of little quasi maze. The exact nature of the maze, let's draw it so we get this right. The way I'm thinking about it is that you'd basically have 4 separate corners. If I, draw them as sort of color coded, it would associate themselves with the way that they're organized here. So you'd have a red section here, which from the center might have you going along this direction here and then down here to get to your position. For green, you might go here. Like so. For blue, let's say blue has it fairly simple. Like so. And then white, might need to go all the way to the end and go here. And these sockets also act as sort of the key to this door. The door won't open unless all the colored balls are in the respective slots. Now, what makes this challenging as far as the somatic component is concerned is if you're carrying these cannonballs with both your hands, then you do not have a hand free with which to cast any spells that require a somatic component, which includes fireballs. You know, if you're holding a cannonball with both your hands, you can't hold a wand. Now, that being said, people who need weapons like a sword or whatever can also not hold anything if they need to use both their hands on this cannonball. But that will be less critical because characters who are martial focused usually, or might have enough strength to carry a cannonball with a single hand. And additionally, even if you need to carry a cannonball with one hand, the cannonball itself is very heavy and you can very easily actually use it as a sort of improvised weapon. So you can take the cannonball and just with both your hands just smash a skeleton's skull in with it. Now, there are a lot of ways around this puzzle that involves taking the cannonball and rolling it along the floor, or taking the cannonball and dropping it, dealing whatever you need to do, and then picking it up again. Things like that. So we could design ways to discourage that. But also because the puzzle is very simple, what I want to do is keep things straightforward and not overly punishing. So what we're going to do is we're going to have skeletons that are blocking each of the areas here. And the general rule is the following. If you enter or end turn in a respective area and you don't have the respective ball in your possession, you'll take 1d3 damage. If it's green, you take poison damage. If it's red, you take fire damage. If it's blue, you take cold damage. And if it's white, you take radiant damage. And this could also tie into the resistance discussion that had been had in an earlier level. If you are in a position where you don't really want to carry the ball, but you have, say, a tiefling or some other creature that is resistant to fire damage, then they can practically just walk in and do whatever they want in the fire area. They'll very rarely care. They'll only take in fact, I'll do only D2. to drive this point home. There you go. So that means that you'll take either 1 or 2 damage. But if you're resistant to damage, if you're resistant to that respective damage, you'll only take 1 damage and only half the time, because when you take damage, it gets cut in half and you round down. I believe you round down, so you'd end up taking no damage. All right, so that's that. What else do we want to do? We actually need to make the walls. I just drew lines here. Let's make the walls. Let's... I notice that this is a very narrow section for us to be walking on. So I should probably reduce it a little bit. Probably not this way. Let's count these. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 squares. There's also 6 squares. So that's actually pretty exact. So with that in mind, I'll just do both. And we'll change our positioning slightly. Whoops. All right, all the walls are set up. Let's get the corners in. Something like that. Take a sip. And then we'll just add more walls to corral our players towards the path that we want. So that would be this path here. Be this path here. We don't have to fill the entire place with walls, but we have to do enough to tell them where to go. And then, did I do this right? Oh, right. I need to do this. And I'll make this wall wide. All right. And there'll probably need to be some corners for these as well. So let's add this corner here. Let's add this corner here. I don't think we need corners for these. Oh wait, we need a corner for this one. All right, and then to help make the understanding easier, we're gonna take each of these and we're gonna color code them. I kind of want this. I kind of want there to be a slight up opening here, actually. So I'll do this. Oh, and the skeleton's got to move. We'll get rid of this. All right, the other parts are fine. I want a darker green for poison. If you do brighter green, then people might associate it with acid damage instead. All right, there we go. And let's go ahead and just get these colors out of the way. Oh, you know what? Let me actually do the math on the distance traveled. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5, 2, and 3. That's 15. And this is 10. This is 5. Or rather, this is 5. 8, 9. Okay, that's 10. Yeah, I probably don't need that full spot, but I'll take this skeleton and move. Oops. The skeleton and move him here. And now what I need is a circle that acts as the slot for each of those cannonballs. I'm listed with rugs. That might not be bad. Actually, I want a magic circle. There you go. This will be perfectly fine. Let's go ahead and get our skeletons out of the way because they're about to get blocked by a bunch of stuff. Okay. What the? That's not what I wanted. Put you here. Actually, I'm going to put you in the corner, but it's going to be an open area. Its diagonal movement is the same. So it actually doesn't change very much the number of squares you move, which is also a neat little tip to learn. Okay. All right, let's see if we can get rid of these little drawings that I did. All right, goodbye. Come on. There you go. Should have drawn those in the GM layer. Ooh, this doesn't need to be here at all. Boom. All right. Yep, and the white one was very simple. So that one we can just get rid of pretty quickly. Let's put you in the GM layer. There you go. All right, finally we'll take our skeletons. I'm gonna put them in the front so it's easier to remove them. And these are our guardians. No, not you. Perfect. If I have a fog effect, it would be nice to apply it to each of these rooms. Or mist. Nothing obvious here. That's okay. The walls should be enough. In the future, we may update this floor to be more fantastical. Right now, I'm focusing on the mechanics. We'll add more pizzazz after the last trials are complete. Because we got one more left. We have the material one. And for this one, I'm going to need some time to think about it. It's interesting to try to understand how you could have material components. I think we're going to actually do some skill-based research for this. And I'll explain that in more detail. But for now, I'm going to take a quick break. grab a drink, maybe a snack, and we'll be back in a few minutes. Catch you then. Howdy rowdy, we are back. All right, so I had some time to think about what the last puzzle is going to be, and we're going to do something a bit more, I think, traditional in terms of puzzles. You know, less of an action puzzle. It's going to require some actual research. And I'll think a bit more on it while I'm eating this string cheese, which will give me the big neuron activations. Thank you. Nom nom nom. Pardon the stuffed sounding voice. But what we're gonna do for the last room is we're gonna make this one a bit more extravagant. We're gonna want a big rug. A rectangular rug, if possible. And looking at the options here, I think I like this rug a lot. We're gonna use this. We're probably gonna wait for it to load, but to summarize for anyone watching the VOD, we're gonna do basically a matching puzzle. We're gonna give the user a series of spells and a series of material components. And based on a spell book that will be left behind, a sort of cryptic puzzle, they will need to be able to identify which material component goes with which spell. Some of this can be done by process of elimination. Some of it can be done naturally, or you can figure it out based on whatever advantages you have. Arcana checks will be important if you're like a wizard or a spellcasting class. That'll be important. And if you know the spell, then obviously you're gonna know the answer. So while we're waiting for the rug to load, hopefully it is actually loading, I will write down my ideas, right? So there will be 6 spells and 8 total chests. Each chest is full of a particular material component. 2 of the chests are actually mimics, but much weaker mimics than what you might see in the monster manual, since those are particularly powerful and I do not want to kill my players because they chose the wrong component. A tome on the desk in the center lists criteria for 6 spells. And I while we were taking a break, I took a look at the spells that I want to focus on. These are all going to be level 1 spells that are pretty straightforward. Comprehend languages, mage armor, jump, sleep, Tensor's floating disc, and featherfall. Okay. Take the key is formed when the path or when the right component is placed inside the right material, right circle, right rune, I'll say, for the appropriate spell. That's the plan. Also, this rectangle, this rug did not load. What the heck? Give me the rug. I want the rug. Please give me the rug. It's rug rectangle red. So let me add red to my criteria. There you go. This should be in the front and also a GM note. We're going to need a chest. We're going to need 8 of them. And we're going to make each one look a little different. We're also going to make these, I think, a bit... do they need to be smaller? No, they don't need to be smaller. I like the idea of having a mimic that is intimidatingly large, even if stat-wise they're going to be fairly weaker than a normal mimic. Yeah, we'll take this one next. So, and then we'll do this one. Yeah. There aren't an infinite number of varieties. Let's see. Did I get this one? Okay, that one's been used. This one has not been used. Perfect. Okay. Oh, what? Ah, that one's rusty. Unfortunately, all the rest seem to be used, so I have to reuse one. And I might as well reuse one that is rustied. So this one. All right, now we need a table. Pardon me for the noms. Let's see, table. These are napkins. Can I get actual tables? Here we go. A triangular table. I might be able to use this, actually. Let's see. Yeah, I can use this, actually. Let's see if I can find, yeah, a square that is light. Like so. Perfect. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to put this here. This should be in the front. We're going to zoom in to get this just right. This thing should be quite bigger, actually. Let's do that. Okay. That's kind of what we want. We have this weird looking hexagonal table. And then we will have a glyph that we can associate to a book. Huh. Glyph did not show up. What about rune? Looks like we might be dealing more with magic circles again. Yeah, that's what we're looking at. Now, the spells we want, we should try to pick magic circles that are fitting for it. So here is a circle that has a bunch of different symbols on it. This one will be our comprehend languages. Next, we need mage armor. I will try to find one that is good for that. Actually, there aren't really great options. There's just not enough varieties in the circles to really symbolize that. So instead, I will have to do something else. I will take 6 different magic circles, but I will have to. Needs to be a bit smaller. I'll need to color code them. Wow, that's illegible. We shouldn't use that. Oh, I didn't want to do that. Oops. Yeah, let's use this one. While that one's loading, okay. We can take this one. Throw it here. We need 2 more. I like this one. Oh, there was one that I liked, but it was like a bloody kind of one. Okay, let's do this one. This one's also white, but I can change the color as I need. So what do we have? We have white, black, green, red, blue. We'll do... Guess we'll do orange. Maybe a bright yellow instead. Yeah, that'll work. And then we'll have a book. And the book will talk about each spell in ink that matches the color of the circle. Because the actual understanding of what circle goes for which spell is not really the point of the puzzle. The point is to understand the material component aspects of the spells that you're reading about. So we're gonna go ahead and just can I find a... I don't really want... I'm looking for an open purple book. There you go. This is what I want. Okay. Next, for each of the chests, I want to list the component that is going to be inside this chest. So... what I'm going to do is I'm going to write down each of the spells here. From here. So comprehend languages is going to be black. Mage armor. Looking at the runes, let's say mage armor is the green one. Jump is going to be the red one. Sleep will be the white one. Actually, no, I want Featherfall to be the red one, which means that jump should be the yellow one. Sleep should still be the white one, and that means Tensor's Floating Disc is the blue one. And what I'm gonna do is I have the components for 2 spells, or I have the components for all my spells, as well as the components for a few more. The 2 that are going to be our sort of trick spells, that'll actually be the mimics. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to touch on components that have like a hefty value to see if that can be a form of greed for the players. I think Caustic Brew has one? No. I guess it's just because Chromatic Orb requires a valuable pearl. I believe it is a pearl, right? Oh, diamond. Sorry. And so maybe I just do... what does Identify need? Identify needs a pearl. Okay. So we'll use those. And we'll try to draw these. And I'm going to do it randomly. so that I'm not biased at all. So for the first chest, just looking at the pages that I have listed, that's going to be a dummy spell. So it's going to be identified. It's going to be our pearl. And I'll mark that as such. Oh, we should be in the map section, and let's do freehand. I'm not the best artist, but neither is the wizard that made this puzzle. All right. So pearls, that's the first one. What's our next one? The next one is also going to be the dummy spell. I'm gonna cheat a little bit. I'm gonna not do that. We're gonna instead do Tensor's floating disk, which requires mercury. And I'm gonna actually just double check that I know what mercury looks like. Pretty sure it's like a... Yeah, okay. So for this one, we need something that's silvery. And it's gonna look like a water drop. Actually, the water drop should be facing towards the rug. Same as before. Okay, what's next? That would be Featherfall, which is going to be a feather. Surprisingly enough, right? So for a feather, we'll make that dark. It'll be like a raven's feather. That's too dark. No one can see that. That's the same as the mercury. Maybe we'll do a different type of bird. Or maybe I'll make the ink very thick. Yeah, that makes things very clear. Yeah, if I just use black, it should be fine. Stem. That did not quite work out the way I wanted it to. Oh, we're gonna spend so much time with the freaking art that I'm so bad at. Let's just leave it like this. Okay, what's next? All right, next would be mage armor. A piece of cured leather. So it's gonna be tough to draw leather. How do I want to do this? I kind of just want a big... Oh, you know what? I should probably draw armor, like actual armor. If I draw like a tunic, it'll become very clear that this is supposed to be like clothing. Whoops. Again, I want it to face the other person. There you go. All right, there's our leather. All right, what's next? All right, that would be comprehend languages. A pinch of soot and salt. So for that, we're just going to do dots of white to represent the salt and dots of black to represent the soot. All right, that's nice and straightforward. So just so that I understand what we haven't done chromatic orb, which is our other bait. We haven't done jump. And we haven't done sleep. All right. So the next one's going to be sleep, which is a pinch of fine sand, rose petals, or a cricket. And I think in this scenario, we're going to choose sand. Maybe because it's easy to draw, and also because I think opening up a chest full of sand is kind of funny. So we just do what we did before, except it's just all grains of sand. Perfect. All right. And then the last one is going to be our chromatic orb, which is the bait. So for this one, we need a diamond. It's pretty easy. We just do something like this. There you go, diamond. Which means that our last option is jump, which is going to be a weird one. This is a grasshopper's hind leg. And I need to look up what a grasshopper is. I know what a grasshopper is, but I just need to have at least some sort of reference image. Oh, geez, this is going to be hard to draw. All right. I'm just going to draw the leg. Which just, it's basically like this. And then like that. All right. Now we have our components. The pearl here and the diamond here are the ones that are very valuable, but opening those just leaves you open to a mimic. The actual stat block for the mimic is something that I'll have to create at a later point. But either way, let's finalize the exact rules here. Okay. Skills. Every group arcana check, for every 5 points average. Actually, how do I want to do this? Because just having more people would be interesting. How do I want to handle this? A group knowledge check doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. Yeah. Let's do Arcana check. For each 10 points, read, find one spell component in the notes. Also, if you have the spell casting or packed magic feature, which basically means if you're a wizard, sorcerer, druid, cleric, warlock, any of that stuff, you have advantage. If you know any of the above spells, you automatically know the component. There you go. All right. And finally, when all this is settled, we'll get one more key. We'll take this key because it looks pretty dang good. And we'll make this key a little bigger. Hee hee. And then you're good to go. You take the key, you go in, and you go down. That's the third floor. Now, there's still some stuff that we can do to make this floor more complete. First, I have to get... Oh, geez. First, I have to get rid of all this drawing. Oh, goodness. Thank goodness it's in the objects section. I was smart when I drew the basic floor plan. So I can just get rid of these piece by piece. Okay. All that's done. All right, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to get the shadow that I want. There's got to be some shadow here that I can use that isn't like a tree's shadow. Let's check my library. Overlays and effects. Just a lot of magic circles and moss and such, which is a neat touch. Is there any way for me to use a tree shadow to my advantage? Because I basically just want to create a very obvious zone here that I can use. Yeah, if I do any of this, it's gonna look a lot like a tree. It's not quite what I want. I could just create a... Could I just draw a box? No, it's gonna be a full box, isn't it? Yeah, if I do that, and then... Let's turn this into an object. Anything I can do with this then? Ah. That didn't quite work out. Let me do this and fill it. So I can get a full thing. Can I not edit this? Yes, I can't. while I'm here, let's get rid of these. We don't need them anymore. This might be as far as we go. We could add stat blocks to the skeletons. We should probably do that at least. So let's look up a skeleton stat block. Great, perfect. And I'm going to find an appropriate icon for skeletons. There's not gonna be a whole lot going on screen. I'm doing some of this in the background. Okay, this can be used. There is... So no token sections here. Or am I a bit silly? There we go. All right, I found it. Okay. I'm trying to make a token out of you. And... oh, I see. All right. So now we've got a skeleton, which I must send to token section. Thank you. And we're going to use the base skeleton block in 5e, which has health, which has 13 health, as well as 13 armor class. And it typically has a +4 to attack. And then in the GM notes, I add the rest of the stat block. Perfect. And there's going to be a skeleton here. That's incorrect. Skeleton here, a skeleton here, a skeleton here, a skeleton here, and a skeleton here. So then these skeletons can finally go away. Perfect. Oh, and this skeleton too. All right, skeletons in. And then for these guys, we'll be adding stat blocks for the Mimic. Now, I had looked up the Mimic before. Here's the Mimic. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna reduce this by a lot. So instead of this much, we're just gonna go ahead and do that, which is +4. And I believe when you do that, that sets their hit points to 12 if you just take the average. And then their speed is 15. That the rest is fine. Yep, everything else here is fine except for their perception. Actually, no, their perception's great. Yep, everything else here is fine. The proficiency bonus is +2. That's fine. Just set these to +4 to hit. And yep, everything else here looks pretty decent. I think this can be reduced a little bit. So these would be this damage, and this should be a lot lower actually. This should only be like 2 acid damage. There you go. All right. So, and oh yes, the challenge rating here is I think going to be 1/2. And a monster with a challenge rating of 1/2. Let me double check how much experience they're worth. I typically use the milestone system for all this, you know, instead of keeping track of experience. But for anyone who is curious about it, let's do this. All right. I need the basic rules. There you go. Yep, half is 100 experience. So we'll do this. Yep. Copy that, and then we'll do the same thing here. Perfect. So now we have the stat blocks for those two. The only thing I really want to do is add these here, and I definitely have time for that. Let me not be so stubborn. Let's look a bit more closely at my library and see if I can figure out anything I can do to give myself a sort of shadowy, misty, foggy effect. Now, let me see if I've done something similar in the other floors. I've done this. Oh wait, that's just because this is. Yeah, if I set it to a token layer, it's solid. No, I don't think I've done anything like this before. All right. We're going on a bit of an adventure. What if I do... Huh. That's kind of an interesting idea. There are these great things that I can use. And if I set up a grate, maybe not that. No, I thought maybe if I like color coded this grate, I could do something interesting. No, I don't really like that. This is me being very picky. Very, 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 very picky. Let's see. What else can I do? No. Yeah, grates won't work. I think I will have to explore other options outside of the Forgotten Adventures set. Oh! That's a possibility. I have an idea. I'm going to set something. I'm gonna have something here. It's like super tiny, like barely noticeable. I'm actually gonna go for the shadows. I have an idea. Let's check for shadow. And I'm gonna add an aura to the shadow. We'll use this. And you can see that it's actually going to be pretty solidly hidden. To make it super small so it's hardly noticeable. If we really wanted to, we could hide it somewhere. But what we're going to do is we're going to add an aura, right? We're going to add a square aura. It's going to be this color, and it's going to be I'm just going to pick something 55 feet. We say the settings, that's what it looks like. Wow, 55 feet was like almost on the money. Well, we don't want 55 feet. We want something smaller. Maybe 30 feet. Probably something closer to 36 feet. Yeah. And then we're gonna make another one. Oh man, when they overlap, it's not perfect. Oh, I thought I was being clever. But it doesn't quite cover it, does it? Nope. You know what? It is okay. We are fine with this magic being the way it is. There's no need to go crazy over it. So we'll just leave it like this. We have our 3 trials. Teaches people the basics of magic. Throw a little bit of combat, a little bit of danger, especially with those mimics. And that's it. We did a pretty simple floor here. I will need to ponder what is going to be covered later. If I bring up our handy dandy notepad. Is that showing up? Oh, it's not showing up. What's going on? Oh, darn. It is not showing up. Is it because of something else? There you go. Got it. So if we go over this list, we can see that we will have covered... Oh, we've covered opportunity attacks. And we're gonna be covering, and we covered the reactions, or what do they call it? Types of actions. We've covered ready. And we're gonna be covering dodge. And we've covered casting a spell. We haven't certainly covered dash, although that will almost 100% happen. We've covered cover in the second floor. What have we not covered? We haven't covered dying, although that may have happened at some point. That kind of just has to happen naturally. We haven't covered lethal versus non-lethal damage, although you may encounter something like that when if a party wants to incapacitate the boss goblin non-lethally. We haven't dealt with mounted or underwater combat. and we haven't covered different types of speed and other conditions. But everything else has been basically covered, aside from most social interactions. So I think our next floor, we'll be trying to cover the rest of the mechanics that are required for this, that are required for finishing up this list. We're probably going to be looking at a lot of social interactions, maybe something in the realm of environmental hazards, which might bring us underwater, and that will also help us understand things about, like, say, speeds and such. That'll probably be what we're looking at for our 4th floor, and the 5th floor is going to be a boss fight, and then that'll be like the first big leg of our 100 floor dungeon. Anyway, thanks everyone for taking a look. Thanks again to JT for the host. Anyone on the VOD, let me know what you think would make good themes, or any questions you have about D&D so I can answer them in a future stream, all right? Anyway, peace out, Cub Scouts.